I bet you can guess what the endless battle is for all gardeners, and that is weeds. I think I've found a solution to that battle. I am fighting my weeds by planting weeds, and I'll explain how. Early this spring, when I tilled my garden, I broadcast handfuls of mustard and also handfuls of kale. This kale and mustard is now overtaking any of the weeds. This bed of kale here, there's more kale here than I can ever consume. One friend suggested pureeing it and putting it in the freezer for smoothies. I think I'm going to do that. But you can see how this patch is virtually weedless. And finally, when I take out the kale that I want, the weeds won't be a problem. You can see the mustard growing where I broadcast it, and there are weeds coming up around the mustard, but the mustard is overpowering the weeds. When I go to plant, I planted this tomato yesterday, and all I had to do was peel back a little bit of carrot and kale, have a big salad for lunch, and plant my tomato. Moved a little kale aside and made a little row for lettuce, and there's my bigger lettuce coming up. And here's the special thing. I have a bed of onions here that all I've had to do is knock down the weeds in between the onions. And you can see how the mustard is coming in the onions there, and I can actually use the mustard as mulch if I want to. I use the weeds as mulch. Most of my weeds are either lamb's quarters or galansoga weeds, which once you cut them down, they're dead. All I have to do is take my fork and just scrape them, and they turn into fertilizer. So it's good to make use. You can see the kale coming up in there. So I'm making good use of my weeds here in the garden. I'm eventually going to plant more tomatoes in this area, but as you can see, it's not going to be overgrown with thick weeds, but it's going to be overgrown with thick food that I can eat or turn back into the soil into good fertilizer. Look at all that kale. You can buy kale seeds in bulk. Just buy a big bag in the spring, mustard, really cheap, or else, like I did, usually the feed store will practically give you last year's seeds because they can't sell them, but they still germinate, as you can see. I came to the realization that weeds are going to happen whether you like it or not, and they always come back, no matter if you turn the soil, cover it with plastic, whatever, they always seem to come back. It's like there's seeds buried in the soil somewhere, deep, and you're just churning them up. So why not make the best of them and use them for mulch?